Most people who want to become an independent property adjuster don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because nobody ever gave them the steps to do so in the right order. So that's what this video is all about. I'm Matt, and I spent 20 years as an independent property adjuster. And then for nearly the past decade, I've been training new independent adjusters through Adjuster TV. And when my graduates finish, some of the top IA firms in the country will waive experience requirements so that you can get work now instead of waiting years to qualify. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through every step between deciding you want to do this and actually getting your first claims assignment. There are more steps than most people expect, and the order matters very, very much so, a lot more than a lot of people realize. Do them out of sequence and you're going to be wasting time and money. Do them in order and you've got the shortest path from decision to deployment. So let's get into this, starting now. Step one, get your adjuster license. This is the first thing, and it's not optional. You cannot work as an independent adjuster without a license. And the good news is that it's not super duper hard to get. The bad news is that it does cost some money and it does take time, and it doesn't actually teach you how to do the job of adjuster. You either have to start with your home state license or something called a designated home state license. So you apply in your home state if it requires a license, pass a written exam, you pay the fee, and you're licensed. Costs vary by state, but figure somewhere between $150 and maybe $400 all in for the exam prep, the exam itself, and the license application. Some states are easier than others. Texas and Florida are the two most common starting points because they're recognized by a lot of carriers and IA firms and a lot of other states. If your state licenses adjusters and you don't live in Florida or Texas, you absolutely want to look at getting a non-resident license in both of those states in addition to your home state license. The main thing to know right now is this: get licensed first. Do not spend money on Xactimate training or gear before you have your license. Make sure you actually want to do this before you sink more money into it. Step two, start your IA firm onboarding immediately. Most people treat this as a ladder or a last step. Well, when I get all of this stuff done and I get ready, then I'll show up with my best foot forward, right? It's a mistake, and it's probably the single biggest reason new adjusters miss their first storm. The onboarding process with IA firms takes longer than almost anything else on this list, and a lot of it is completely out of your control. Background checks, corporate webinars, carrier certifications, additional state licenses that they specifically want you to get. All of this as part of what the firms are going to tell you exactly what they need from you for you to do, but they can't rush their own internal processes. You're basically in a queue, and that queue doesn't care how motivated you are. So you've got to start this now while it's quiet, not when a category 4 is sitting off the Gulf Coast and your social media is lighting up with people going to that storm. You're not going to get to go with them, okay? So here's what the onboarding process actually looks like. You apply to multiple firms, and you should be applying to more than one, of course. Each firm has their own application, their own background check, their own set of carrier certifications that only they can provide. A lot of them are going to have in-person or virtual assessments where they're essentially sizing up a whole new batch of people at once. These are their trainings. Some will require you to get licensed in additional states before they'll activate you, and they're going to tell you which ones those are. Now, none of this is particularly hard. It just takes time. Start at the day you have your license in hand and work through it while you're doing everything else on this list. But Matt, how are these companies going to put me to work if I don't have any credentials or other licenses or certification? You're absolutely right. They're not going to put you to work, but you still have to go through all that onboarding stuff, and you can backfill the things that they specifically want you to have as you go and make yourself ready to go to work for them. And then the last thing, when you get your last license or your carrier certification, is for them to say, all right, go to work, not, okay, now let's start your onboarding process. We need you to do a background check. We need to do a direct deposit form. We need to do this. We need to do that. If you're just getting started and you want a full overview of everything that goes into becoming an independent adjuster in detail, step by step, the beginner's guide covers it all. The link is in the description below, or go to adjustertv.com/start. It's free, and it's going to save you a lot of time. Okay, step 3, learn Xactimate. Xactimate is the estimating software that the entire property insurance industry runs on. If you can't use it, you pretty much can't do the job. This is where a lot of new adjusters make a mistake. They either skip proper training because they think they can figure it out on the fly. Well, I'm good with computers, how hard could it be? Or they spend money on the wrong training and show up to their first deployment knowing how to navigate the software, but not how to use it in the context of real claims. And those are two totally different skills. Navigating the software is kind of the easy part. Writing an estimate that accurately documents the damage, meets carrier guidelines, and doesn't get kicked back by your manager, that's what takes some real training. So plan to spend real time here, not a weekend. We're talking weeks of focused learning before you're ready to write estimates in the field under pressure, and do it during the same quiet stretch when you're grinding through your iFirm onboarding. That time is valuable. Use all of it. Step 4, learn the basics of restoration construction. You're going to be estimating damage to homes and commercial buildings. You need to understand how those buildings go together and how they come apart. You don't need to be a contractor. You don't need to know renovation. You don't need to know remodeling. You don't need to know new construction. But you do need to know what a hip roof is, how siding gets torn off and installed, what a soffit is, why it matters whether a window is single or double paned, etc. This is something a lot of training programs skip, and it shows up immediately in the field when a new adjuster can't identify damage because they don't know what they're looking at. Yes, there are good free resources for some of this stuff online, but you need to spend some time and a little bit of money to get focused training on restoration construction before you actually go to your first deployment. Step 5, learn the claim process and customer service. The technical side of adjusting is only half of the job. The other half, arguably more than half, is managing yourself and the people involved in the claim. We're talking homeowners, contractors, public adjusters, attorneys, iFirm team managers, the carrier managers and staff. New adjusters who only focus on the technical training are the ones who get blindsided by the human side of the job on their first deployment. It is real and it matters, and it doesn't get talked about nearly enough except on my channel. And there is actually training for that as well. Step 6, get your gear and your cash together. Before you deploy, you need gear and you need a financial cushion. This is not optional, and this is where people kind of get caught flat-footed sometimes. On the gear side, you need a ladder that can easily get to 1 story, 18 plus feet tall when it's fully extended. You need measuring tools like lasers and tape measures. You need proper footwear, gloves, reliable laptop, a tool bag so that you can be hands-free when you're climbing roofs, and a solid snapshot camera like this guy. There's a lot more to it than this, but those are kind of the non-negotiables. On the cash side of things, and I cannot stress this enough, you're not going to see your first paycheck probably for at least 30 days after your first deployment starts. Depends on how soon you can get your files in, where you show up during the pay schedule. You need to be able to cover your food, fuel, and lodging and any other expenses out of pocket until that money comes in. I'd say figure out minimum $2,500, $3,500. More is better. Step 7, deploy and do not get sent home. Okay, you've done everything else right. You got your license, you're trained, you're all geared up, financially prepared, you're on the right rosters. Storm hits and you get the call. Now, this is when the real test starts. Your first deployment is where everything that you've learned either holds up or it doesn't. The adjusters who survive their first deployment and get called back are the ones who close quality claims quickly. They can manage their resources, they can stay out of trouble, and they don't fall hopelessly behind on their files. The ones who don't make it are usually not necessarily lacking in ability. What they're lacking in is preparation for what the actual pace and pressure of a real deployment feels like, then the ability to be organized and manage their time. You can do every single step on this list perfectly and still get sent home early if you don't know how to perform once claims are actually in your hands, and that's what we're covering in this next video right here. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a great storm.